Hi, Wendy here with take 400 and something or other. No, actually only four. For explaining annotation sets in Chief Architect. So this first video, I'm going to examine how they ship in the Chief files as they come out of the box, how I use them a little bit, and just what they are. So annotation sets are saved collections of defaults that govern your text, dimensions, CAD, what layer they go on, what font, what size, under dimensions, the other defaults that you can set for dimensions, like what objects are dimensioned, how they're located, your default CAD layer. And in annotation sets, they can also govern what layer set is currently displayed. They don't have to. That's optional. Also important to know that you can import and export them. So you can set them up so that your template plan has them and new plans use them, but you can also import and export them so that you can use them on a plan already started, even if it did not have them. So let's have a look. What I have on screen is a little bit of a plan that is, I just used Chief's template right out of the box. This is, and I've also put a couple of controls on screen, by the way, for you to see, for me to use. What we have, and by that I mean, boy, I can talk, I really can. I have edited the default toolbars to provide a few more tools that we are going to need in this lesson. And by we, I mean me. The way you do that is you right-click on the toolbars and you go to Toolbar Customization, and I will show you the ones that I added. I added this one. The drop-down lets you change annotation sets. This one lets you edit them. And the way you add a toolbar is you just click, drag, and release, and put it up somewhere you want it. If you want to get rid of one, drag it off and it goes away. You can put it on a floating toolbar or on one of these. So I've added that control, and I've added some layer controls. The layer hider, the layer eyedropper, the layer painter, some layer controls here. So you can see what those are. And just scroll down the list and find the right ones, if you choose. You can also get at the annotation set controls here in your default settings. The annotation sets live in each plan file individually. They are not a preference. A preference affects everything that you do. Defaults that are in a plan are plan by plan. That's what annotation sets are. So let's have a look at what ships with Chief. And that's why I'm putting this control here so I can get at it quickly. What ships with Chief are 3 that are by scale, and then a series that are by the type of drawing. Because we all know that framing is usually done separately from your architectural, your HVAC, your electrical is usually different. So let's look at what they did. Let's look at the 1/4 inch. It is set. Notice that it says 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Notice that it says roof, roof. So they have done a lot of visual pairing of the names that helps things be clear. They're just using the CAD default layer, so if you have this annotation set active, any CAD that you add is going to go on that layer. Then here, for each of these, this is a set of saved defaults that govern dimensions, that govern rich text, text callouts, etc. Within each one, the X would delete it if it's not in use. The pencil would edit. The big green plus would copy it to create a new one. We're going to use edit just as a way to look under the hood here and see what's there first before we change anything. So if I open this one up, it has the usual set of defaults that you would find for dimensions, your primary format, your locate objects. So this is all just the way it ships. I haven't changed anything. It is set to go on the manual dimensions layer. So this doesn't affect where your automatic dimensions go. Those will always be unaffected by your annotation sets. Only manual. Arrow settings, and here under text style, it is using the saved text style called 1/4 inch text style. And when we come down here, although it's grayed out, it is telling us what character height, because if I change this, it changes the character height. So this is just lovely. We don't need to change that. We won't even when we go changing. It's a nice system. You can also do your text. You can use the layer. You can do a custom one. If you click that, you can just, and for some people it's simpler just to say, I want it to be this size. We're going to keep it here under the 1/4 inch. I'm going to cancel out. Let's just make sure I didn't change it. Yes, layer, okay. Rich text has the text size, rich text, because you can mix different text sizes within one, then the defaults cannot use a text style, because a text style is only for the simple text that's one size. Let's get out of that without saving. So that is just set for 6, and it's under appearance that it puts it on a layer. And the way Chief ships, it puts it on the text layer. Makes sense. Same thing with your simple text or dumb text. And again, it's got a place for it. The text style is using the 1/4 inch. It's going to make your character height 6. Under line style is where we look for the layer, and it's putting it on text. And there's other attributes that are just the way it ships. Then for callouts, it's got your various defaults here. It's putting it on the callouts layer. Here it's using the layer for the text style, and they've set that to be 6 inches. So it's kind of mixing systems, which personally I find a little confusing, but I think check out how these work. So this one you would go into the layer, and it's the default text style that governs the height. It does happen to be 6 inches, and that is appropriate for a 1/4 inch drawing. Markers have their own set. They're putting it on the marker thing. They're also using the layer style if you have any text with it. Arrows do not have a layer associated, because when you draw an arrow, it either goes on that CAD layer, or it's the arrow with text, and it will then go on the text layer. They're setting it here for these 3 that are by scale to use the active layer set. What that means is that if you change your annotation set, it is not going to change your layer set. These other ones, if I change it, it does. So notice it has changed it to the roof. It's changed it to the plot plan, but now when I go to any of these, that remains unchanged. That's what use active layer set means. So let's move down to have a look at the ones that are by type. And this thing that we just saw, by the way, where it doesn't change this, that's why I think a lot of people have trouble with what ships out of the box for Chief, because I think that confuses people. It's mixing systems. So let's look at the electrical. So here, now they have given a separate set. The arrows are the 1/4 inch. That's the only one up and down here that doesn't say electrical, 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 and that's because, remember, arrows don't key to a layer. It's only saying what size, and they're assuming your electrical plan is also a 1/4 inch. If you did your electrical plan at a different scale, you would change this. So now, we're looking at one here that goes to the electrical set. Remember that these 3 that are by scale, if we look, they're all going to the same layer, which I also think is a problem, because we wouldn't really do that. So this, the way it ships, it's assuming you're going to work at one of these 3 scales only, because otherwise you're going to have text for 3 different scales on the same text layer, and that's not going to work out. But let's look under the hood at these. For example, this goes to the electrical dimensions layer. It is using the layer for text style. So personally, I would still do the 1/4 inch one, but this is a perfectly valid way to work, or you could do that. And these are all going to be the same right down through. There is one here where notice that these electrical set, framing set, HVAC set, and KBA use active layer set. Wait a minute, I'm confused. Well, I kind of think you should be confused. I would have changed this to use the kitchen and bath set, but that's not how it ships, so just be aware that if you're going down here looking for these to all behave consistently the same way, the kitchen and bath one doesn't. Notice also that it is simply using the 1/2 inch scale. It is not naming these NKBA. That's because most kitchen drawings are at 1/2 inch. So there we have it. That's the tour. And now I am going to open an example plan to show you how we use it. I've done much more elaborate layers, and I did these layers a very long time ago. So there are things about mine that I would do differently now, but this is just the nickel tour. So in a layout, I am now selecting this layout box. I'm going to open the door and go to the plan view. So you notice that this layout box, I've told it first floor, and I've told it which annotation set to use. 1/4 inch plans, that's my architectural construction drawing annotation set. If I had it to do over again, it would say CD there, just to be more clear. But this is what I did. Same thing, second floor, 1/4 inch. But let's look here, right beside it. Here I have 2 plans. If I click through, not there, Wendy. If I click through here, I'm on the 2nd floor, 1/4 inch plans. Awesome. If I click through here, I'm on the 2nd floor, 1/4 inch roof, and it looks completely differently. So let's go back and look at how, so my layout box is referencing an annotation set, and my annotation set is referencing a layer set. So every time I go to that annotation set, it is changing to the correct layer. That results in me looking at a layer set that goes with whatever layer I'm going to put plans on. So let's label this the boy toilet, elongated bowl. Yes, that should make everybody snicker. And you notice that there's no problem whatsoever. And I can close out of that and then go here. I'm on the 2nd floor, just like I was before. But watch this. If I change this annotation set, it would change that. I'm here in this one, and if I put text on, text for roof plan, it is going to show here just like the rest. It's actually on my roof labels layer. I put so little text on a roof plan that I just went ahead and used the roof labels layer. Hey, there is no law that says you have to make new layers for everything. Let's look in here at what happens if we start changing the layer set instead of the annotation set. And I advocate for letting the annotation set run the bus and always use this drop down. Let's go now to our 1/4 inch plan set. 1/4 inch architectural plans. So look what happened. It changed this annotation set to say using active defaults. And I was just in my roof plan. Let's see what happens when I go to add some text now. Let's say we want to label this vanity. Watch. Bam. It's putting up a note that says it wants to turn on my roof's labels layer. That's because that set of active defaults that I left behind was using the defaults that put text and dimensions on the roof labels layer. So being a smart girl, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to hit escape and get back out of this and correctly go to my 1/4 inch plan so that these match. And if I put text on, it's going to say something that I want to say on the correct layer. and then I would save it and exit it and go on out. So that's how those work. And it's the same thing as I come through here. Let's go to, this one is going to use my framing, floor and ceiling framing plan. It's going to take me to the foundation level where the framing we see is above our head. So the first floor platform is displayed on the foundation level. Going to be the same thing on all the rest of these, including this one. This one is my ceiling framing above the second floor. Then when I go to the next page to my roof framing, this is using my frame 1/4 inch roof annotation set. So I'm again on the second floor, but I'm showing my roof framing. We can demonstrate that by going back to the ceiling framing, floor ceiling, back to the roof framing layer, roof framing annotation set. Awesome. And then somewhere here I went, oh yeah, so I took a copy of my first floor plan view that is, and I want this to be set to use my 1/4 inch plans so that if I click through to do some edits, it is set up correctly. Then let's copy this plan. Let's come over here and look at something that is kind of cool. Let's change the scale to 1/8 inch. And let's change the annotation set tied to the layout box to my presentation one at 1/8 inch. Look at this. Let's put these in close so I can zoom in close. Notice that text here, even though we're at 2 different scales, is the same size. Optional island, optional glass, those really in layout would be the same height as they print, both nice and readable. Where if I left this one at a 1/4 inch scale of any kind, let's do one that makes sense, that has some stuff we can see. 1/4 inch, where was I? Yeah. So this text would be too small to read. So put it back the way we want it. All right. The other thing to know is that plans, you have this little control for plan view. You don't have that for layouts, for elevations. So let's go to an elevation view. It's saying use active defaults. This is not the way I would want it set up. I would want this set up using a specific one. So this would be my 1/4 inch exterior elevations. If I now send this out, come on, let's watch what happens. And let's get out of that. We don't need to update it. If I click through this one, now it's using it. If I let it update, and this one also. So even though there's not a control, if you go and set it that way, it will actually remember it. I'm actually surprised. I thought this wasn't going to, but it does. Well, that's nice. We like that. So that is almost the nickel tour. There's one more thing I want to show you. The other sets that I make these 3 that have a dash are my working sets. So I have a set for working on framing, for working on presentation or design or modeling work, and one for working on roof framing separately. And when I go to those, I have a bunch of stuff showing that I would never want to show in the construction drawings. I've got notes to myself, I have my sun angle, I have my polyline for my area, I have some moldings that put some moldings around the building, I have my cameras to double click and open. so that I don't have to go around. If I'm doing some ray tracing and I need to change this sun angle and see where it is, I don't have to turn layers off and on to do my modeling and my ray tracing work, or to just leave myself a breadcrumb trail. Same thing with framing. In the framing, what I did was I did my framing design and I set it to have taller text. It's only 4.5 inches in the thing, but I want to see it. So I'm just putting in notes so that while I'm doing it, I can remember what the heck I came up with. And then when I go to do the framing things, it gets a lot more. But you see how I have to really zoom in to see what's what here. So that's the nickel tour. All right. I'll pick this up in a few minutes with one that shows you how. Awesome.